Yep.
How do I make him? It doesn't show up here. Change role to attendee. You know, he can't. He needs to share the screen. Did he? He needs the rights.
Logan, did you sign in through the panelist invite or through?
Yep, and it's
Okay.
got me down as a panelist on the list.
Yeah, but I wonder if you signed in on as the attendee.
I'm on the one that allowed me to get in at 7:45.
Okay.
If you could make me even a co-host, if you could have multiple co-hosts or a presenter or
can.
something.
We can.
Yeah, it says it's not going to allow me to share either at this point.
Okay, do you have a PowerPoint, Dave?
Yeah,
Go in and see if you
just
can.
share screen if I can.
I can do it over here.
I was just going to share a few photos and stuff. I could share screen for a little bit.
Maureen, I'm assuming that you have my PowerPoint already, correct?
Yes, yeah, I do.
Great.
Okay. Logan Martin is a co-host.
And make Napier a host as well, co-host.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
guys, Logan, why don't you try to share your, okay, good, perfect. So if you wanna, you know how to, there you go, great. Okay,
I can stop sharing if Mayor Napier wants to try.
okay, Dave, you're on. Can you try now?
Sure, I can. Yep, mine works.
Okay, great. All right, so we're gonna start. What I ask you guys to do, I'm gonna do the welcome, all that. Order is McGuire, Drosty, and Napier, okay? Are we all good?
Sounds good.
And then we'll go into Q&A. I sent you some questions ahead of time, but we do ask our attendees to submit questions during the event. All right. While when who's ever speaking, just make sure we're all on mute. And then when I unmute and call on you, you can unmute yourself and we'll get going. Mayor McGuire, when I start with you, just give me a minute because I have to pull up your PowerPoint, okay? So you can just do some happy talk until I say you see your PowerPoint up, okay? Got it? All right. I'm going to start the webinar now and let people in. Okay, I'm going to go to gallery view. We're on gallery view, start webinar. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. We've just opened up the webinar, so if you can sit back, relax, grab your coffee, tea, or whatever. It might be 5 o'clock somewhere, so no judgment over here. Make yourself at home. We're going to have a phenomenal program this morning.
See if Josh is on,
Josh Hoyt.
because he's not showing up as a,
He is.
okay.
Do you want me to allow him to talk?
Shh, you just.
Okay, All right, just a few more seconds as we are waiting for the last few people to sign on, and we will get the program started. And I'm excited to let you all know we are live on Facebook. So we welcome our friends on Facebook who are following us and watching us live. All right, well, why don't we get started? People will continue to come on board, so thank you so much. Good morning and welcome to the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce Public Affairs Breakfast Webinar. I'm Maureen Scalen-Fahler, President of the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce, and I want to thank all of you for joining us here this morning. Just a couple of housekeeping items. We do have a question and answer Q&A portion of our program where you can ask questions to our mayors. So put those questions in the Q&A during the course of the program, and we will get to as many as we can. Secondly, we do have a special guest that will be coming on towards the tail end. I'm proud to say that we have Mayor-elect Josh Hoyt from the city of Farmington, who has joined us this morning. Mayor-elect Hoyt, we congratulate you, and we will look forward to hearing a couple of comments from you towards the end of the program. So thank you very much. So we are here today to have what I'm really interested and excited about is really a candid conversation with our mayors to really hear from the mayors of three, of course, I'm a little biased, three great cities in Dakota County. We have Mayor Mike McGuire from the city of Eagan. We have Mayor Bill Drosty from the city of Rosemont, my favorite Irish city in Dakota County. And then
Whoa.
Okay, all right. Sorry, Mike. Then we have our esteemed mayor from West St. Paul, Mayor Dave Napier. So again, I think we're going to have a great conversation here what's happening in all these cities. So I would like to thank our sponsors for today's program, and our series sponsors, our Charter Communications, and then our program sponsor for today is Comcast. And just a couple of quick things. Charter Communications is America's fastest growing TV, internet, and voice company. Their commitment to serving customers and exceeding their expectations is the bedrock of Charter's business strategy, and it's the philosophy that guides their employees. Comcast is one of the nation's leading providers of communication, entertainment, and cable products and services. They employ over 100,000 employees nationwide, whose goal is to deliver the highest level and improve the customer service experience. And then Flint Hill Resources is an industry leader in refining chemical, biofuels, and ingredients with operations primarily in Midwest and Texas. And I know Flint Hills is a great supporter, community supporter in the city of Rosemont, Mayor Drosty. So I'd like to thank all of our sponsors for today's program. Without sponsors, we aren't able to do great programs like our Public Affairs Breakfast Series. So I would now like to start. We are going to hear from Mayor Drosty first. And if you just bear with me here.
Sorry, Mayor. You hopefully this won't affect your presentation.
Well, apparently she's serious about this favorite Irish city thing.
Hold on, you guys.
Maureen, did you want me to pull it up or are you sticking with Mayor McGuire?
I'm staying with Mayor McGuire, but I just lost his PowerPoint, so just bear with me, all right? All right, so we're going to do a little reverse here because I'm having some technical issues. Let's start with Mayor Bill Drosty, and then Mike, let me figure out what's going on with your PowerPoint. Go ahead, Mayor Drosty. Thank
No
you
worries.
so much for coming on board.
Thank you, Maureen, and thank you to the Chamber for all the things you do for our communities. Also, thank you to our sponsors and good morning, everyone. So we'll get started here. First of all, we were asked to present our priorities as we look out to the next year. But before I begin, I would say clearly in March, no matter what anyone's priorities were for this year, we had to readjust because of COVID. And especially at the city level, first responders were a key component as far as how to keep police, fire safe, and then businesses and city offices. It was impactful. However, we're adjusting. I think as we look out to the end of this year and into next year, we all know businesses, especially those local businesses, many of them are in still very difficult circumstances, especially the restaurants, bars, and service industry. So looking into the holiday season, which is such a strong component, small business in a regular year, this year from the CARES Act and the work we did there, we are doing an initiative with our local businesses through a holiday campaign. We also just recently extended our outdoor patios where businesses can do it all the way through April. I know in Minnesota, yes, it does get cold, but in some cases we do have one restaurant has tents, heaters, and they may be able to extend the fall and even nice days throughout the winter, they may be able to use that outdoor patio component. And then we're also looking at, again, flexibility on fees. Will provide rebates to those restaurants or bars that have liquor licenses and they're not able to open. So what are other key priorities as we look into next year? Within the past couple months, we've hired a consultant and we're looking at significant retail opportunities within Rosemount. Mostly they're all along Highway 42 corridor. The most significant area would probably be the Akron Avenue and 42 right at the college there. Next year, the county will be putting a signal light there at that intersection. So the quadrants on both sides, on the north side, and then the southwest side of that intersection will be important as we look out the next 5-10 years. Also, we're doing some work out on 5242. The county widened the overpass. I think it's been already 3 years. And we always have been continually have an interest as far as development opportunities out in that corner. And then the other one more to our downtown, right across Highway 3 and 42. There's another quadrant. We just approved some senior living going into that quadrant and a location for a hotel. I'll just mention, why are we doing those items? Number one, as developers look at the quadrants, it'll give them a sort of a plan of what we're envisioning for those quadrants. And then also it gives us an opportunity to communicate with our residents on what they can expect as we look out to the future. We're continuing to pursue the diverse housing stock within our community. Last year, 2019, we had approximately 350 housing units. This year, we will be just about at 350 at the end of the year. When you look at those numbers, now there's one large building in front of you here, which is the Morrison project downtown. That is 124 units within that 350 number. But generally, I'd say just over a third of our housing units this year are single family homes, maybe about 35%. Then another approximate third townhomes, and then the other third apartments. We have, I should note, you can see on the slide there, approximately we're anticipating 305 housing units next year. We've platted and approved this year, even during this pandemic, 640 units, and primarily they're from Dakota Technical College North along that Akron Avenue corridor. When you look at one last thing on the 350 units this year, that's 77 million, just over 77 million in value. The Morrison project is another approximately 16 million project, and we'll begin to see that finished in the fall of 2021. Next slide. So another key component, the middle of this year, the University of Minnesota signed a preliminary purchase agreement with a developer on Umore Park. We did have agreement with another developer, national developer out of Texas 2 years ago, and they had some funding issues. So they put it back out to market. They signed an agreement in June, and we're working with the developer on 400 and approximately 30 acres on Umore Park, which is 3,000 acres in Rose Mountain, 2,000 Empire Township. The concept plan that you're looking at here is similar to the previous one, approximately 1,500 units. We're in the early process of approval of concept plan, and then moving forward with more detail as we get into next year. But there could be a possibility on the early side, maybe grading could start next year. When you look at this, it's a busy map. There's a retail component up on the north or your upper right side, and then townhomes and apartments closer to the college, and then single family homes on the west side. And then some long-term projects out on the horizon. I will say for the last 10, 15 years, we've been very cognizant of what our tax rate is. We're the third lowest in Dakota County out of 11 cities, and I will give credit to Mayor McGuire and the city of Lakeville. It's hard to compete with those two cities, but we're trying. Having said that, I will say as we look out to the future, we are going to have significant projects that will require bonding and will affect our tax rate. So the first one I'll mention is a water treatment plant. We do not have one now. We're 25,000 people, but as you look, grow the population base, it is a necessity to add water treatment. So we're doing work on that. Police Department and Public Works building, we're working on securing some land once, and if we're successful with that, we'll begin to move forward with a large Public Works Police Department building. That also will be significant. And then the third item, an indoor recreation center. This would be on right across from the college on the northeast side of the Akron 42 quadrant. And again, this project would have some significance on our tax rate. So with that, these are the significant projects out to the horizon. I should end. I know Mayor McGuire is going to probably mention the professional football team, but I do know we do have a winning football team in Rosemount. They've won 3 games in the last 8 days. So turn it over, Mayor McGuire.
Go Irish.
Thank you, Mayor Drosty. So now I think we have all of our technical issues taken care of, let's hope. But just quickly, I forgot, as we were in the midst of trying to get things to work, you know, Mayor Drosty, you have been serving the city of Rosemont for quite some time. You're also a realtor and you have your business in Rosemont as well. So thank you very much for your service. I am pleased to now introduce Mayor Mike McGuire. Mayor Mike McGuire lives in Eagan with his wife, and you've been here since 1995. Is that correct, Mike?
That is, yeah. I also live with my son and my dog too.
Yeah. You're not in the doghouse today, I hope.
Not as far as I know.
It is a pleasure to have Mayor McGuire on. He has served as chair of the Municipal Legislative Commission, president of the Association of Metropolitan Municipalities, and the League of Minnesota Cities Board of Directors. And most importantly, with the work our chamber has done with Mayor McGuire, he has served on he had served on Governor Dayton's task force on housing. So we appreciate your partnership on the housing front, Mayor McGuire. So now I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Appreciate that introduction, Maureen, and thanks for hosting us all today. I always say that it's sunny and 75 in Eagan, and I'm hardly ever wrong. And November 6th, yet again, proves my knowledge of Eagan and weather as well. So I'm really glad to be here. There really is no place that I'd rather be on a 75 degree day in November than here. That's primarily because my tea time isn't until 10:30 later on. So with that, I want to start off just by noting the participants here and congratulating Mayor Hoyt and Senator Carlson on their re-election, on their election and re-election respectively on Tuesday. Really glad to see that. Just kind of try to go through my presentation here at a pretty high level. If Maureen, you can move to the next slide here. Just a quick introduction of the topics that we're touching on today. I'll talk about, out of order a little bit, our economic responses to the COVID pandemic, some of the economic development that's been going on in Eagan during 2020 and during the pandemic. It's actually been a fairly successful year in Eagan in spite of the pandemic and the measures we had to take in City Hall. I'll talk a little bit about those measures in public safety in terms of what we've had to do through the pandemic, and then wrap up touching on the transit study and the hopes of getting transit more robustly in Northeast Eagan and some of our goals going into the future, as well as a new city council member as well. So with that, in terms of economic responses to the pandemic, or the COVID-19 and the economic challenges of that, as many of you know, we had to shut down City Hall and city programming by and large back on March 17th, where we instituted a state and a local state of emergency in accord with the governor. The upshot of that was that a lot of our work out of City Hall became remote, and we had to work virtually. We had virtual city council meetings through webinars and Zooms like this through much of all of March April, May, and June, I believe. We got back into City Hall once we reopened City Hall in July, and we've been really excited and able to continue the work of the city and keep Eagan continuing to move. In those hopes, once we got back into City Hall, we had the opportunity to develop a grants program using the federal monies, the federal government's CARE Assistance Project. Eagan has funded and awarded 11 businesses and nonprofits grants totaling $253,000. Those were for mid-size and nonprofit businesses, maximum of about $25,000 grants. The city also put aside about $500,000 from that CARES money for small business grants, and through the Dakota County Small Business Relief Program, the city of Eagan funded about 48 small business grants. Dakota County also funded beyond that 48 small business grants for about that $500,000. Dakota County awarded additionally 175 Eagan small businesses with grants. So we've been doing a lot to try to financially do our part to try to get these businesses through the economic challenge that the pandemic has been to the business community in particular. And hospitality is certainly a big part of that. One of the things we've done in addition is make adjustments in City Hall. We tried to shift to allowing a little bit more emergency liability, a little bit more emergency flexibility for some of our hospitality businesses in particular by fast tracking outdoor permits. We moved the process of them being able to expand seating into their parking lots, for example, to an administrative one so that folks didn't have to come through City Hall and through the City Council, more importantly, to get votes on minor plans to help them stay afloat. We did the same thing for businesses, for fitness centers. Once the City Hall shut down physically, we did not shut down in terms of process, so we continued to do inspections and try to keep ongoing development projects that were already starting back in March, going through the summer and the winter, and we've done a pretty good job of that. We've also, beyond inspections, I think what you'll find is that our community development department has continued to meet with and work through development proposals, starting off mostly virtual in the spring and early summer. And now that City Hall's open, we have a good set of protocols in place to keep things going. The good news of that is that we, from an economic development perspective, permitting is actually fairly stable and high. In 2002, we had our third highest year in terms of new building valuation since 2015. The unique thing here, and the thing that should be mentioned, is that the first three were in 2013 with the Twin Cities Outlets, 2017 with the Vikings Lakes development, and 2019 with the development of the Omni Hotel. Unlike those 3 years, which were our previous high in valuations, 2020 really is more of a volume of projects that are smaller projects and more kind of mid-sized. We've seen a lot of homeowners reinvesting in their property, as well as businesses reinvesting in their property. So our zoning permits for improvements are up 21% from 2019. 69% of that increase is due to residential exterior improvements, and we're at a 6-year where our highest in 6 years in terms of building permits for commercial and residential development as well. So while the economy has tapered from a consumer perspective, what we're seeing is that from a business perspective and a reinvestment perspective, we're seeing both residents and businesses taking advantage of this downtime to get prepared for the recovery, and we're excited about that. As a result, we've had about 19 projects that are either completed, under construction, or approved for construction, or pending approval in 2020. Okay, 19 projects that are approved.
I'm sorry, are we behind on your slides?
We are, just by one.
Okay, so do we go to the next one?
That's the idea.
Okay, we'll go to the next one.
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
We have 19 projects that are either completed, under construction, or approved for construction in 2020. I'm not going to list all of them for you, but just a couple of examples so you get a sense of what's been happening even during pandemic. In 2020, the Omni Hotel was completed. That's 320 rooms. That is the first Omni flag in the state of Minnesota. We're very excited about that. That actually opened for business on on October 1, I believe. And I haven't had a chance to get in there yet, but I'm planning on spending a night, which I actually won at the DCR Chamber Golf Tournament. So little plug for the DCR Chamber Golf Tournament. Under construction is a Fairfield Inn and Suites down by the Cedar Grove, I believe that is. That's 120 hotel rooms as well. Vikings Lakes Phase 1 is 250 units of residential development in Northeast Egan. That's under construction currently as well. We've approved recently the Astor House or Nichols Road improvement as well. That's going to move to construction, we hope, soon. That's 240 units of affordable housing, and they're working with the CDA on a tax increment finance district, really significant, and I'll mention that a little bit in a second. Pending is a couple of redevelopments that have been in the local news recently. Yankee Doodle redevelopment, which is a grocery and bank redevelopment. And then down on Cliff, some infill by the Imagine Hotel. That's proposed for a grocery store and one of what at least consumers in our town will see as a long time and big success. Rumor is that Trader Joe might be moving into Egan, which I'll be glad for, so I can stop hearing from people who want to know how I'm going to get a Trader Joe. I mentioned earlier on affordable housing, the Astor House. That's 240 units of workforce housing. That was a really significant project for the city council to get through. We worked with Dakota County and the developer for about a year and a half before we finally got that approved. So I'm very excited about that. We also have the Nichols Point development coming in by the Cedar Grove redevelopment. That's a veterans preference affordable unit, and that'll have veteran services as well as county services in there to help veterans and 55 plus get on their feet and get some stable housing as well. Lexington Flats is 50 units of workforce housing as well. And again, that was approved probably a couple of years ago, and I think it's going to start construction soon. So really making some progress addressing the job growth in Egan with housing for the workforce needs of those employers. Mentioned earlier that I'd talk about public safety and our responses more generally to COVID. As I mentioned, we had to shut down City Hall on March 17th. That meant closing the building, but not closing our processes. We moved to a lot of virtual work. Our police and fire adjusted really quickly and had to adjust a lot of their methods, quite frankly. The protocols under COVID that, for example, our fire department and police have to go through when they're going to be in contact with people who may or may not have a positive test or have contracted the virus has been just like really everything. I think it all slows it. The pandemic slows down almost everything that we have to do. And it's no different for public safety as well. We've been monitoring through state and local folks the COVID rates and incidents and outbreaks in Egan as well. Dakota County Public Health has been really an integral connection between us and the Minnesota Department of Health. So we very much appreciate the work that they've been doing. As of now, or as of 10/26 in Egan, you can see here that we've had 1,400 cases and about 104 hospitalizations from COVID. But by and large, I think it's been fairly well managed from a public health perspective. And while it's been a serious disease and a pandemic, I think we've handled it well. And we have to give a lot of credit, quite frankly, to the community and to businesses like those on the line here who have been really supportive and compliant with things like the mask ordinance that we've tried to put in place, and with the governor's state orders as well. You know, the bottom line is none of us want to be in this situation, but the more we can do the things that we can do to try to get above and on top of the pandemic, the more likely we are to be able to keep our businesses open in Egan. And I think that's been working out well so far. From a public safety perspective, of course, about a couple months into the pandemic, we had the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. I think it was I really am not a fan of the title of this slide here. While I understand there was some protest and unrest, certainly in Minneapolis and St. Paul, I wouldn't really define what we've had here in Eagan as civil unrest. We've monitored what's been going on in the city of St. Paul and partnered with Dakota County law enforcement to make sure that none of that came south of the river. We had some minor incidences, I think, in June, but by and large, the community has been fairly responsive and really quite civil in spite of all the challenges by the pandemic and by protest, and of course the 2020 election energy, which I think has just kind of heightened everything for everybody. We continue to work with agencies throughout the region in anticipation of the trials coming up, and also a little bit lightly in terms of what, if any, reactions there may be to the results of the election of 2020. Quite frankly, in spite of all of everybody's up in arms concerned about violence and interruption at polling places, it was a really, really calm election process in Eagan. And I think it has been through most all of these suburbs and in Minnesota. So we're grateful for that. In response to some of the questions about policing and race, equity, and social justice, Chief New tried to schedule really a follow-up on a May 2019 community conversation about police and race. We unfortunately had to cancel that. We heard from a lot of citizens back in June and July who wanted to know what we were doing in terms of policing tactics and policies. I think a lot of them were surprised to learn that a lot of the things that folks were calling for in the aftermath of George Floyd were things that the city of Eagan and its police force have already been at work on for a couple of years. So the goal of the community conversation was to be able to listen to those concerns, address them, explain what we've already done, and learn together as a community what we still can do. Unfortunately, that event had to be canceled because a counter protest was scheduled opposite. That counter protest, we didn't want to put people in any harm's way when they were trying to have a productive community conversation. Competing conversations and protests just don't work out. So we had to delay that. Unfortunately, the protest resulted in some graffiti damage to City Hall. I wouldn't say it was major, but by and large, what I would say is it was a disappointing outgrowth of kind of the adversarial communication that's come about. I think one of the challenges that local governments have going forward these days is to try to restore some civility to our conversation and our public conversations. And I know I in City Hall have seen just kind of an increasing challenge with that. Hopefully with the election going past, we can kind of get back to a little bit more normalcy and we'll be able to move on. Really quickly, just want to touch on the transit study that the Chamber did and a lot of our major employers here in Eagan, in particular in Northeast Eagan, did to come together. The city looks forward to working with the Chamber and transit providers to expand our network and especially to serve the emerging Viking Lakes area. There's really a lot of exciting things that are just beginning to happen up there. And I think in the next couple of years, you'll see a lot more. And there'll be a much higher transit demand than has previously existed up there. So we're looking forward to that and looking forward to our work continuing with the Chamber as well. In terms of future goals and vision, on Tuesday, Councilmember Tilley was on the ballot for re-election, but had announced in July that she was not going to actively campaign for re-election and was instead going to retire from a council. Represents our first open council seat in almost a decade. On Tuesday, Councilmember Fields was re-elected and Mike Sapina, who's familiar to some of you, he was elected to the city council. So we look forward to him joining the team. And I think shortly after he does in January of 2021, the city council will get together and have a planning retreat and kind of talk about what our direction is. Last few years, we've really used the Eagan Forward strategic plan as a guide map for what we're doing and developing Eagan as a destination, as a place for all people, People might not realize, but roughly 1 in 4 citizens of Eagan are people of color. And I think people are kind of surprised to learn that we in City Hall have been trying to evaluate our systems for race equity and how do we make sure that we invite all of our community in and kind of change our own perception of who Eagan is. I think sometimes we think that we are a whiter community than we are, and that's part of what Mike Sapina is going to encourage the council to address as we move forward as well. Eagan also is increasingly a creative and innovative community. One of the things that I'm particularly proud of is the emergence of a real art culture in Eagan. It was always there, but I think through some public efforts over the last 5 years or so through the Eagan Forward, we really kind of recognized and helped to nurture that Eagan arts community. So with that, my apologies if I went a little bit long, and again, appreciate you all being here today.
Thank you, Mayor McGuire. We will now move on to West St. Paul and to Mayor Napier. And congratulations, Mayor, you were just re-elected to serve another term. So congratulations. And you have been a lifelong resident in the city of West St. Paul. And you had also served on the city council prior to being elected to mayor in 2017. So we appreciate your longstanding commitment to your community. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Again, thank you for having this. The Chamber's been awesome support to our city and other cities in the Dakota County, so we appreciate that. And again, thank you to the sponsors. I'm going to keep mine a little brief. Nothing against Mike, but Mike, that was a nice presentation. That was like your State of the City address. But no, nice job. It's great to hear what you guys are doing down there. I did an article. I'll just start out. I did an article in our newsletter early this year, about the challenges of a first ring suburb. The first ring suburbs, we have about 15 around the metro area. And there's a huge challenge that we face being this close to the inner city. And some of them I'll talk about a little later with infrastructure and stuff. But one thing I found out when I did research for that article was if your first ring suburbs are successful, your suburbs thrive. So I think you guys owe us a compliment for how we're doing to help you guys thrive. But it's really true. It's if we are successful in what we do, it really helps our suburbs thrive. So I just want to throw that in for our residents to understand how we help you guys. But really, I'm going to start out with COVID. COVID-19 has been a challenge for every city. I think we faced it head on. I think we've done a great job. We have one full care facility building in our community, which we used to call nursing homes. We don't do that anymore, but I think those have been the most impacted, right? So early on, working with the directors of that facility and other senior buildings, it was a huge challenge for us because their loved ones are depending on those buildings to do their job, to make sure that everybody stays safe. I just want to report that we have done a tremendous job. The directors of those facilities have done a tremendous job. I visited with one the other day where it was a senior building, assisted living, and they have not had one case in their building. That's huge. So we have done our job, I believe, watching other communities and what they do. Everyone, I think, has done a great job trying to keep this under control. We are continuing to do that. So with that, we did get CARES funding, and we did allocate 150,000 of the CARES funding. We ended up expanding that to about 165,000 to offer it to businesses to support them during this time. Because we know that several businesses, hair salons, nonprofits, educational facilities, and as well as bars and restaurants, all these businesses that rely on people to come into their place, all of a sudden you tell them they can't. So we granted about $165,000 out to businesses that took full advantage of it and really showed our part to help them. We were also one of the first to open up patios outside, right? To be able to allow them to expand their seating capabilities. So really appreciate our council for having the foresight of trying to create something to help our businesses. The next thing I would talk about is I'll go into the biggest challenges that we face. So as a council, we get together every year with our community. We go out into 3 different parts of our community and we hold listening sessions. And during those listening sessions, find out what's important to the community. Then we set our goals for the year based on what's important to the community, what we feel is important financially, and we pull things together. This year, some of the key things were to look at affordable housing. Affordable housing, to me, I think the city of West St. Paul is doing a fantastic job. I'm going to show you some slides here in a minute that show some projects that are currently happening right now. But we've addressed that head on, and I really appreciate our partnership with the CDA to really help us accomplish the goals that we need to in affordable housing. We also look at our financial stability. I mean, if you look at Robert Street project, everybody's heard about Robert Street. Robert Street put a lot of, the state put a lot of impact on us on deficit. We ended up with, at the beginning of this year, we had 33, at the beginning of 2020, we had a $33 million debt. Since January 1st of 2019, we have dropped that deficit by $7.5 million. So we have created a plan that we can really bring that debt down without negatively impacting what we're doing around the community. We also give credit to our representative, Rick Hansen, and our Senator, Matt Klein, for helping us lobby the state to get in the half-a-cent sales tax. That was approved. We have generated $1.3 million this year from local sales tax, half a cent. Really, that was a goal to try to create and really the money has to go to our roads projects. So we were able to keep our road infrastructure improvement projects alive because of that half a cent sales tax. And really the thought behind that was the users of Robert Street can, because it's our economic engine, the users of Robert Street, as they spend money along our corridor, will be contributing basically in a indirect way to decrease that deficit. The other thing we're working on is basically the budget of the year of our year. We need to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible. COVID has had a huge impact on the dome. Since the Metrodome went down, we currently have the biggest dome in the state of Minnesota. And that has brought in collegiate softball games. It's brought in all kinds of things. Well, that got impacted this year. So we are missing that revenue as well. I'm going to show up my slides quick. I want to talk a little bit about, I'll share my screen here. So I want to talk about economic development in our city, and this actually ties into affordable housing. As a first ring suburb, we are fully developed. So when you drive down through Eagan and through Rosemont, Rosemont right now, I can't believe how many developments are going on with housing, individual homes being built left and right. I think that's great. We don't have the luxury of having that. We have, we do what we call redevelopment. So it's been a great challenge, but I'll show you some of the things that we have been working on, which, let me see, get this beginning here. So this is Town Center 1. Many of you have been through West St. Paul. This is the corner of Wentworth and Robert Street. There was a CarX there, a Maaco. Those buildings are the Maaco's getting torn down, but the CarX has been gone a while. But this is a really fun project for us. This is going to be a market rate apartment building. In the lower level, it'll have 1,700 square feet of retail. It is our Town Center 1. It's one of our busiest intersections in the whole Robert Street corridor. We're excited about this. It'll be up front to the street. It's going to be a walkable area, and we're excited for that to come in. So that's getting underway right now. So we're excited. We will tie that into this project. Now, when I came on in 2012 on the city council, one of my big goals was to try to figure out what to do with Signal Hills property. We had many studies done over the years by professional developers that really understand the market. And they did a market study in our area, and they came up with the most optimal use of Robert Street or Signal Hills along the Robert Street corridor is mixed use. So it's really about bringing retail and housing and bringing people. So this project we're excited about. The one on the right is the senior building, which is going to be closer to Robert Street. And the other one will be a market workforce housing, basically, family friendly building. This project is again getting underway. It's going to bring a lot of jobs. It's going to have the senior building will have 247 units, and the family building will have 146 units. So we're excited about that project. Right next to it is the Signal Hills Strip Mall, which I fully expect that to do some upgrades and enhancements to that. This project is a partnership with the CDA. They acquired the land several years ago, and this is considered our gateway, so they named it Gateway Place. As you're coming from downtown St. Paul, this is the first intersection you come to, Annapolis and Robert Street. It's actually a phase 2 of 3 phases. Phase 1 is on the opposite side of the road, which took place several years ago. It's another CDA building. And then the phase 3 will be just south of this building. As you drive down here, just south will be another building in the future. But we worked closely with them to try to make sure that it fit in with the city, that it created a softer approach. It's a pretty big building, but it has a lot of nice amenities to it, and it is considered affordable housing. This project is one that we've long awaited for. This is in front of Cub Foods. So there's outlots that have been vacant for years out in front of this area. And some would know of this as a place where Famous Dave's used to be. This will be currently a Chase building, Chase Bank, and then next to it will be, for sure, we know a Starbucks is going in, and there is also opportunity for other tenants that have not been received yet. This project we're excited about, everybody's heard about this, is the River to River Greenway Trail. This trail is, as you can see, they're going to have half the tunnel done this year, and the rest will start in spring. This is going to be close to that Town Center 1 project. So when I say walkability, I mean, it's going to be close. They're going to be right next to it. This tunnel will generate 140,000 people through it. Studies have shown, Dakota County has shown that 140,000 people use it each year. This also spills out onto the old Thompson Oaks Golf Course and our Dakota County Library. So the trail system here will then spill into the Thompson Oaks Park. We're going to actually create some paths around the lake there and trying to create another park amenity, as well as there is it's the Trilogy project on the golf course is a market rate apartment building going in right along the golf course, and that is a phase 1 of phase 2. Phase 2 would be senior buildings, most likely like a retirement community of townhomes, single unit or multi-unit townhomes. So that would be phase 2 of this project, but nothing's been said on that. But we feel that this property was very challenging with contamination, and wetlands filled in and stuff like that. So it's really a challenging piece of property that only a part of that golf course can be actually built on. So we're trying to create some, a good use for that. This building is called Sweet Living. It's a memory care and assisted living. This building will go across the street from the CDA's project on that North Gateway, just across the road from there. And that will have, I believe, 32 units. 14 units will be memory care and 18 units of assisted living. So yeah, so a lot of good fun projects happening in our city. I think the challenging part for us is to make sure that we can get through the COVID and try to get our businesses up and healthy again. We have so many things to do in our city, and I think we're ready to do it.
Thank you so much, Mayor Napier. Now, what I'd like to do is do a couple of questions because we're starting to run out of time, and I do want to have Josh, Mayor Hoyt-elect, say a few words at the end. But just a couple things, and if you could keep your responses to within a minute, I would appreciate it. So all three cities are doing well. Yes, COVID has had impacts on businesses, which are very concerning, and long-term, specifically restaurants and hospitality. How do you see working collaboratively amongst, crossing city limits, coming together as, a force to be reckoned with to make Dakota County a better place to live, work, and play? So the question is, how do you see how you can work more collaboratively together with all the cities in Dakota County? And we will start with Mayor Droste if you want to unmute and respond.
I'd say, first of all, Mayor Napier alluded to it, how our communities really are all integrated. So when you look at transit, housing, and various shopping components, it's really a Dakota County region. How well do we function? And we as cities, even on transit, as we build these housing components or shopping centers, the higher the density you have, the easier it is going to be to create those transit opportunities, whether it's work or for housing or other recreational opportunities. So I'd say overall, we do a lot of collaboration, probably more than what the public realizes, but there are always opportunities to work together in more unique, innovative ways.
Mayor McGuire.
Maureen, I agree with Bill on most all what he had to say. So, certainly transit is part of it, but I think, we're doing it right now. I mean, between Rosemount and West St. Paul and Eagan, we all have our own economic development goals and the things that we're trying to do within our community. But I think recognizing that we are a region and we function as a region, and that when Dave serves workforce needs in his community, those are workers that may well be coming into Eagan to be working, and they choose to live in West St. Paul, and vice versa. So I think, and the transit, and recognizing how transit connects all of us to both our workplaces as well as our homes, even though they might not be in our community, I think is an important key to the puzzle. And I'll just add and then finish. Our work with the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce, I think, is critical to that. Both transit, workforce, and workforce housing are all key issues in our communities, and they're key issues to the chamber as well. So continuing to work that way collaboratively through the chamber, I think, is one of the biggest things that we can do.
Well, thank you very much for those comments, and we look forward to partnering with all the cities on these critical initiatives that are so dependent on the vitality of Dakota County. Mayor Napier, if you want to unmute.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, certainly transit. Are talking about transit nonstop because as we put this, when we look at that Signal Hills development, that's 393 units. That's a lot of people in an area, and it's right on Robert Street. And it looks like we're gonna probably have the BRT come through in the future. So we're preparing for that. It's been probably 6-7 years. We've been talking about it more specifically, but transit's going to be huge. And the whole goal is to try to create transit, right, connection all the way down through to Hastings. So there's a lot of opportunity there for us to work together. I want to say our partnerships have been tremendous. And I want to, as long as I have both of you on, I want to thank you for when we did have the unrest in the metropolitan areas. We did feel it here in a first ring suburb. So we had the opportunity to bring in additional support services from all of your communities, from all the communities in Southern Dakota County. They were all here helping us. So I want to thank them. And it's just a great thing when we have a big fire, right, in our areas. All of our forces come together. We do so many things together, and I think we need to keep doing that. So I think it's great, and I think there's always room to get more. And I think through the chamber is a great resource for us to do that.
Thank you, Mayor. So next question, real quick. You all three have talked about transit, and thank you so much, because that has been our #1 initiative over this last year. All of you received our executive summary on our transit study, and my question is this, real short, is out of all that, Mayor Napier, the BRT line and all, we sent letters even over to Metro Transit endorsing that particular line. Where do you see and the most important first steps for us to come together to move transit forward? And we'll start with Mayor Napier.
Yeah, with transit, I think the biggest thing for us is to identify what will work for us, right? I mean, we need to know, we have a pretty narrow corridor there. So we have to determine what does mass transit look like in our city? We currently have buses that go up and down the corridor. We need to know how that looks. I mean, the community wants to know how it looks. Bus stops are not always attractive, right? So we need to know, how are they going to function? How are we going to use them? It looks like I believe that we have a mechanism in place with the county chamber and the Met Council to make sure that we can get that information to the residents. And so I think we just need to get more education to the residents and make sure that they're on board with it, because I do get pushback from some people saying more transit brings more people that we may not want or whatever. And I'm hearing all these things, and a lot of it just is not true. I mean, we can use transit to be to the advantage of all of us in our community and all of our businesses. So we need to educate. And I think we do that again through the chamber and through the Met Council.
Great. Mayor McGuire. 30 seconds.
I agree. My one follow-up to Dave would be, there are no people that our communities can't use in terms of workforce, and therefore there are no people we don't want. And I think it's really important to understand that transit helps us bring the workforces into our communities that we need to keep our communities going and vital. And I think that's really important. If they don't choose to live in Eagan, or in West St. Paul or Rosemount, they need to be able to get in. Otherwise, we don't have the amenities in our community that draw employers and residents in. So there are no people that we don't want in our communities, and transit's particularly important to that.
Mayor Droste.
Quickly, I'd say in a post-COVID world, I'd say transit, looking out to the future, will probably change. Case in point, MBTA, about 80-85% of our express routes went into the core cities. Now, depending on how that looks 5 years from now, I think dial-a-ride and micro transit service is going to be a better component, or a growing component. We just rolled out dial-a-ride in Rosemount, Apple Valley, $3. You get on an app, ask for the service, and it'll take you specifically to where you want to go. So I think it'll have to be studied going forward.
Thank you for bringing those up, because interestingly, those are, we have 5 strategies and 14 recommendations through our study, which we'll be moving forward on. And I look forward to working with each of you on this important initiative as we get through post COVID-19. You know, I've always said, you know, we do a great job of exporting our talent, our workers out of Dakota County into other counties. I would like to see us retain some of our talent for some of our businesses that really need to hire, and manufacturing is one. What I'd like to do, because we're at the tail end, Mayor-elect Josh Hoyt, we're gonna make your mic live and video. So if you could just quick come on and say hello to everybody and say a few words.
Absolutely. Can you hear me, Maureen?
Yes.
All right, good deal.
Can you turn your video on by chance?
Got my video here. Same assistance, audio settings. I don't have the video link as I would
Okay,
normally have with the
that's
Zoom.
all right.
Well, that's okay. That's no big deal. Words matter, right?
Yes.
First and foremost, thank you, Maureen. Thank you to the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce for everything that you and your organization do across the county. Thank you to the residents of the city of Farmington, and also all of our city staff, election judges, those that put in, you know, countless hours and tireless efforts over the last 6 weeks. The city of Farmington has unique challenges, you know, but with that creates very unique opportunities. As it was alluded to earlier, there are inner ring suburbs, and Farmington is definitely an outer ring. We have more residents within our community that traverse outside of our community for work, grocery needs, things of that nature, than those that come into our city. So we have some very, again, not to overstate, but some very unique characteristics of our community and our town, and things that we can use to better promote ourselves. But you know, the dynamic of the city of Farmington has changed in the last few years. I mean, with this election cycle specifically, we have a new mayor, we have 2 new council members, potentially a third with my seat being vacated. So we've got great opportunities in front of us. We have some tenured staff, and you know, I feel empowered. I feel driven more than ever, and I'm excited as to is in front of Farmington in the years to come. So as again, it was alluded to earlier, Farmington has to work with its community partners. It has to work with its neighboring cities, their municipal and elected leaders have to work within the county to best, utilize those skill sets and the resources available so that we can continue to grow and prosper in the future. So thank you very much for giving me a few seconds to chat there. And as always, I look forward to doing work with the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce.
Well, thank you, Josh, and again, congratulations. You are a great addition to this crew. On behalf of Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank each of the mayors that are with us this morning as well. And just know, over the course, actually, today is my 3rd year anniversary. Thank you, being at the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce. And we could not be where we are today if it weren't for the relationships that we have developed with each of you, your city staff, your businesses, and your residents. I always say Dakota County is a crown jewel in the state of Minnesota, and I'm very committed to continue the work to ensure that all of our communities in Dakota County are successful, viable, and will be a great place to live, work, and play. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, thank you to our sponsors, Comcast, Charter Communication, and Flint Hill Resources. You're great partners. We appreciate it. And I'd like to thank all of you, our viewers and our members who have joined us here today. We did have a question, Mayor Napier, that came in at the tail end. If you can take a peek at that and maybe respond back, and I can get you the individual's contact and tell you who you can contact, that'd be great. But again, thank you, everyone. It is a Chamber of Commerce Day in Dakota County. It is a beautiful day. I want everybody to go out and do us a favor. Shop local, support your local restaurants and your retail. Now more than ever, they need us to help them get through some very challenging times. So please support your local businesses and your local hospitality establishments. Again, thank you all for joining us. Mayors, have a great day. I'll look forward to seeing you in the very near future. Thank you, everyone.
Enjoy the day, everybody. Stay out of my fairway.